Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she made it official yesterday. I think she was on a live stream with some rapper. And she said, let's throw up the tear sheet there that we have from the New York Post. She will be voting for Joe Biden in 2020. He put her on the spot.
Rapper, Fat Joe.
Sorry, Fat Joe. I'm very culturally out of touch. That's my sleeve is showing there. So she says definitively, I will be voting for Joe. She says, I will be voting for Joe Biden, clear as day. I mean, look, she was asked to clarify. I think she said, I've said it from the very beginning, I will be voting for the Democratic nominee. It's just, this is the first time she's
said the words directly.
Said the words, Joe Biden. And I thought it would be good to pair this news item with this report that we just got from Newsweek, internal Sanders documents that reveal actually that her endorsement of Sanders was dramatically helpful in swinging younger voters who may have been on the fence or have been flirting with the Warren campaign come over to the Sanders campaign. So it just makes it even more basically kind of crazy that Joe Biden has not reached out to AOC for her endorsement, and yet she gave it to him anyway, right, Krystal?
Yeah,
so there's two things in here. Like that Newsweek article is like, why the Biden campaign is crazy for not reaching out to AOC, and then she's like, no, I'm still going to vote for him. Like,
well, and I still think that the Biden campaign is crazy for not reaching out to AOC, because there's a big difference from being like, yeah, sure, I'm going to vote for him in November, and actually getting out and affirmatively making the case, which was what she gave obviously to Bernie Sanders, came out and did that big New York, what did they call it, like Welcome Back Bernie, or Bernie's Back, that's what Bernie's it was, back, rally. That was a major turning point in his campaign. It's actually funny now thinking back on two of the real pivot points in the campaign were two endorsements, AOC's endorsement and then Jim Clyburn's endorsement,
that's right.
Which is not anything that I would have necessarily predicted given how most endorsements by and large are like completely and utterly meaningless. But hers actually meant something. And we've covered the fact that Joe Biden has a problem with young voters right now. Look, they're not going to Trump, but some
actually,
are.
In some cases, they are.
Yeah. But, we covered the polling that showed that, Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump with young voters, of course, but you have 22% who are saying, this is according to Chegg College Post, of college voters saying that they're going to either vote third party or stay home.
Right.
That could be something that if you have AOC not just being like, I guess I'll vote for Joe, but actually affirmatively excited and saying there are progressive policies here that I think will make a difference for our communities and that matters, I think that would go a long way towards maybe. I mean, I think it could be helpful with those soft numbers with young voters. Her tepid support isn't going to do a lot. But to your point, look, if you're going to just give your endorsement, if you're going to say you're going to vote, she had laid out in that New York Times interview where we first learned that she had literally never even spoken to Joe Biden, which is kind of amazing. She laid out kind of like a list of, here's what I need to see. What happened to that?
Nothing. And what's even funny, I did my radar this morning on Larry Summers and how Larry Summers being actively advised by the Biden campaign. I see this message from the Justice Democrats and Sunrise being like, Larry Summers must not be advised Joe Biden. I'm like, it's not going to do anything. Like, you guys all said you're going to vote for him. It's like all of you said, your biggest leaders, your biggest supporters, all these other people have outright been like, I'm going to vote for Biden. He doesn't care what you think. I mean, that's just the one thing that it's mystifying.
It's actually, it's not even just people. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He actually, and this is what the Larry Summers thing shows, he doesn't just not care. He actually wants to spit in your face.
Yes.
He wants you to know that Larry Summers is advising him and that is the direction that he's going in. They put that out intentionally into the news media because that is the way that Democrats win elections or try to win elections. They often end up losing elections that way. But that is their whole theory, is that if you say, screw you to the left and cater and pander to the corporatists, that the left has to come along anyway, just like AOC is and just like they all have, right? And look, for Joe so far, that theory is pretty much working.
Yeah, it's working for him. And as we said, he could even win the election. It's more about if you actually want to get anything for what you purport to stand for. I mean, saying, I'm going to be voting for Joe Biden is just, you basically lose. Like what? Why should he take your call and say, no, I'm not going to put Larry Summers on the board? Like, you have no leverage in terms of vote. You're not willing to leverage anything, organize. I mean, it's just, you talked about this in your radar yesterday. You have to be willing to be hated. You have to be willing to organize. You have to be willing to blow the system up in order to get what you want. That's how Republicans win. That's not something that Democrats, it just seems completely foreign to their DNA.
Yeah. And there's a theory of like that we've heard and has been articulated on this show by people I really like and respect. But that basically, okay, well, he'll get into office, Joe, and then we maybe can have some influence.
Okay.
It's like, why would you have influence then?
Right.
Why? What leverage will you have then that you don't have now? Because then it's just like, okay, now we're gearing up for re-election, right? The minute you get elected, you get into office, then you're thinking about, okay, 4 years from now, I got to get back into office. And what's the playbook that they're going to run once again? The same playbook that they run every time. That is, in fact, their like core principle and value, which is screw the left, so that you can cater and pander and signal your like centrist bona fides to the corporatists and the affluent people who are benefiting from the status quo. That's the playbook they're going to continue to run during this election and once they get into office.
It's right there in front of you. It's in front of your very eyes.
It's not a lot of great choices on the menu. Let me just put that out there. And as I said, whatever choice you're making, I'm not going to shame you for it, but some things to think about. Next week on Rising, friends of the show, Chuck Rocha and Zed Jelani, are going to join us to brighten our Monday. Week, of course, is going to be full of amazing guests, and you will not want to miss any of it.
That's right. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. You guys have a great weekend. We'll have some great content for you there. Hit subscribe now. See you guys later.